this morning with a breaking news alert.
Breaking news this morning, we continue following an active shooter investigation after a horrific scene unfolds in the River City as law enforcement begins an investigation following an active shooter. As you're waking up at this hour, we now know one suspect is dead and at least one person is injured. This morning, we do have crews on the scene continuing to piece together what happened. Right now, we know the call came in just before 10 last night. This was at the Walmart on Evansville's west side near South Red Bank Road. 44 News morning anchor Tommy Mason, he has been live at the scene since around midnight. He joins us now with those latest details we're learning this morning. Tommy, what can you tell us?
Yeah, of course, in the last couple of hours, we learned the suspect's name, Ronald Ray Mosley II, and we don't know much about his criminal history. We do know, as we learned from Sergeant Anna Gray in the Evansville Police Department, the criminal history we do know about does involve at least a battery charge at some point. We don't know exactly the motive of why Mr. Mosley entered this store around 10 p.m. last night, shooting a female victim, and at some point that victim did walk out of the building to be transported to a hospital for further maybe surgery. I'm not sure at this point what the condition of that person is, but we do know it was a female employee of this Walmart, and we know that Mr. Mosley was also a former employee of this Walmart, and we don't know exactly how long ago that battery charge may have been filed against him. It may have been earlier in 2022. Now, as far as last night is concerned, the first shots happened just before 10 o'clock. That's when dispatch got that first call. And then at that point, EPD, seven EPD officers as well as the Vanderbilt County deputy entered this building. And it wasn't but about 10 minutes after that initial shot was fired that they arrived on scene and then located that shooter in the store. And they were talking to us, of course, the Evansville Police Department was talking to us about what they go through in training. And you can imagine how large any Walmart supercenter is, and not only the expansive aisles in there, but all the corners are coming around. And, of course, shots are being fired, and those officers are kind of to identify where the suspect's at compared to where their fellow officers are at. So luckily no officers were injured in last night's shooting or engaging in gunfire with that suspect, which did happen two different locations in the building, one of which inside, one of which outside. So in that 15 minutes of time, that suspect moved around, got to an exterior door, tried to exit. That's when he was met with law enforcement on the other side, outside waiting. And then he went back inside. Of course, there was gunfire there as well, ultimately ending his life. And we know that those officers will be placed on administrative leave, which is protocol for the Evansville Police Department and the Vanderbilt County Sheriff's Department. And there were officers on scene that weren't even on duty. So there was a big, aggressive response to this active shooter situation last night. And luckily, no other patrons or customers at the time were injured. It was at 10 o'clock. They closed this location at 11. So there was still a substantial amount of people in there. And we know at least a half dozen employees were still on hand milling around this parking lot. They couldn't get up to this scene because of the criminal investigation going on within. But most were gathered at this Home Depot just about 100 yards away and were very silent to the media, very stoic, talking amongst themselves about what happened, maybe concerned about that fellow coworker that was injured last night in that shooting. That's all we know at this time. We do know that there's a press conference and a more expansive explanation of how things unfolded. And we'll also get a look at some of the officer involved and their body cameras that were here last night. Of course, there's a lot of angles to look for, security cameras from Walmart too, so we'll see that later today, and that will be presented during a press conference by the Evansville Police Department. And it was at about 5 a.m. this morning. You know, that's 7 hours after that initial shot was fired, that this parking lot was then relinquished back to the Walmart management, and the investigation, as far as the internal investigation inside the building, was complete by EPD. So that's all we know at this time. We'll get more updates, and we do hope to talk to Sergeant Anna Gray as well as Officer Taylor Maris from the Evansville Police Department throughout our morning until around 9 a.m. today. So if we get any other updates, we'll, of course, pass those on to you as soon as we can. From the west side of Evansville, Tommy Mason, 44 News.
Thank you, Tommy. Now, I don't know if we can ask him real quick, but Tommy, do we know what the response has been this morning as far as maybe employees showing up to work today, kind of talking to you? Kind of what has that been like this morning?
Yeah, something like this happens on a weeknight, a Thursday night. Some folks may have went to bed, not seen the news headlines, not seen social media feeds that this had occurred. So we've had at least 2 or 3 employees come up, ask us, personally, are we open today? Of course, we don't know that officially, but at this time, that door is closed. There are signs on the front that are normally there when they close one of the entrances, so nothing special has been put on the door to indicate something criminal has occurred here and that these folks should go home for the day. So that has not been confirmed, but yes, there's been employees show up. And in fact, in the last couple of minutes, we've seen some of the lights in that interior walkway kind of dim a little bit, too, to indicate maybe they are closed today, too. So, yes, there are some confused employees, too, that did not work that late shift last night and instead have to come in here, bright and early 6 a.m. and were unaware that their day has now been canceled, at least for work here at this Westside Walmart.
Tommy, and we will check back in with him in about 10 minutes as he provides those latest details. Stay safe out there. We appreciate it.